Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. And as you will see, there is once again just two of us, Craig. That is a hat trick, 3 weeks in a row. Myself and you and I are left
That's
to
fair.
talk about Hibs now. Unfortunately, Hibs have lost a game for the first time since early December, so we are unfortunately not on here talking about Hibs going to Hampden as we'd maybe hoped. But just how are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing well. Enjoyed my day out yesterday, as it was as much of a day out as you can have, just driving there and back. There was no beverages consumed, unfortunately, but
Aye.
it was a enjoyable day nonetheless.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I mean, we had a really nice sort of start to the afternoon, didn't we? As we were walking around Celtic Park. So we sort of showed up at the wrong end as such, and had to walk around, and we were met with. Now he wasn't a steward. I don't know
I don't know what it
what
was.
his role would have been. He had like a some sort of match day volunteer or something who obviously identified us as Hibs fans because we still had our front teeth and had a wash, and very quickly like because obviously Hibs absolutely didn't get under Celtic fans' skins at all at Easter Road when we played them last time out in the league, and he proceeded to just randomly have a dig at us as we were just
Ah,
walking around the ground for
ah.
absolutely no reason.
He was having a proper go at us. So
Uh,
I mean, he got plenty back. To be fair, like he
uh,
was getting slagged back, but it was random, bizarre. But I know you've been having battles on Twitter today with some people who've
oh,
been clearly very wound up, but
Do you know, it
and
just that it's
unwilling
not
to admit.
even this is I've only replied to one or two, and like the that Celtic tweet today, so that there was sunshine on belief at paradise. Like,
So
what the
bad.
fuck are they talking about? And it just like I know, like you shouldn't get wound up by these things, and I'm not wound. This is it's fucking it's so shite. Like,
That's
it's not even close to good. But
that's a
look, it
bad
just
bad
shows that
attempt.
we obviously got under their skin when we played them at Easter Road a couple of weeks ago, and you're not allowed to have fun as football fans. You're not allowed to celebrate wins, and you should just accept it was just 3 points, not even a big game, etc. etc. But yeah, look, like we said, Hibs win it. Oh, sorry, unbeaten. Well, it was a winning run as well. We'd won three in a row prior to that, but our unbeaten run unfortunately came to an end. So now we just need to decide, Craig, are we going to say that it's only been X amount of defeats in however many, or are we just going to transition it to how many league games we're unbeaten in?
Oh, I'm on the league games. I'm on the league games definitely. Yeah,
Was it
you've got to go.
12
How
unbeaten in the
often do
league,
we
is
get
it?
that? I think it's 13 and 12 or 13 in the league.
I
Ah, it
think
would have been
12.
13 because it was 15 total, and that included two in the Scottish Cup.
Aye, yes, aye. No, you're right, aye. Well, aye, so no, Hibs are still beating in the stuff that
Absolutely.
matters. Who cares about the Scottish Cup, mate?
Oh,
Like, it's fucking,
never liked
it's
it
not.
anyway.
League's the bread and butter, isn't it?
Nah,
No good ever comes of that.
nah, I
Uh,
never wanted to win it.
Anyway, we'll talk about the really irrelevant game that took place at Celtic Park yesterday. One change, Lewis Miller came into the back three. We're on record saying that Lewis Miller generally plays well against Celtic, probably did again yesterday, but in a slightly different role. Did it surprise you when Warner Hora was on the bench that Miller started?
Uh, no, I don't know about surprise. I was probably more surprised. Well, yeah, I suppose actually. Just kind of answered your question really by talking myself into it. I thought Hora wouldn't even be in the squad if I'm honest.
Yeah,
Uh, so I wasn't surprised to not see him starting. Probably more just so that he was actually in the squad at all.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I know we put a tweet out. Maybe what was that Friday or Saturday? I can't quite remember. Looking for folks teams and pretty much everybody was saying that they would bring Miller in regardless of
yeah.
whether Hora was fit or not. Which maybe in a sense is a wee bit harsh on Hora, but at the same time, it's probably just shows the sort of trust in Miller that people are kind of getting nowadays, especially against Celtic. He
100%, yeah.
seems to perform well against them. So yeah, and like you say, I thought he did.
Shows a bit of sort of flexibility in the team as well, doesn't it? That he's sort of played as the right wing back against Celtic in the league 2 weeks ago, and the same role against Dundee United at Tannadice, but then can slot in. And like I say, I thought I actually performed pretty well yesterday and done his job admirably. Oh, that was struggled with
You
that one,
got
didn't
there. You
I?
got there in the end.
Aye. I mean, the game. I mean, we were in super early, weren't we? But it sort of had a feeling of a big day, didn't it? And sorry, I'm choking. With
It's all right.
7,000 Hibs fans in there, but the game never really got going, did it? From a Hibs point of view.
Uh, 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 to be fair, we lacked quality on the ball and a wee bit of composure when we got the ball. And it's not even like we didn't get into good areas because I thought we did. Probably most of the second half. We just never managed to actually take advantage of it. Defensively, I thought we were as good as you can be at Celtic Park. We weren't conceding too many clear-cut chances, and it was bodies on the line, and the effort was there. But yeah, we never got going, and I don't think that's actually reflective of us, or I say us, of Hibs as a team. Thought all our sort of players that you would look to bring a wee bit of moment of quality just didn't really have it yesterday,
Hmm.
and maybe that's just the sort of legs going a wee bit, the sort of mental strain that maybe being on this run and the expectation that comes with a run like that sort of took its toll a wee bit on us, and we looked a wee bit rushed and a wee bit nervous on the ball.
We sort of it reminded me a little bit of the first game against Celtic this season in the league at Easter Road, where we just looked to be, I think what you said right, yeah, just a little bit on uneasy on the ball when
Aye.
a lot of stray passes or just first touches not quite where they need to be. But I think a big part of that as well is probably Nicky Cadden's injury, which sort of it sort of takes away a big out ball. He'd sort of had a little bit of success early in the game on that left side, and you could sort of see the way we were trying to work it, like into Iredale and down the line, be that to Cadden if he sometimes he a couple of times he'd come short and Boyle had went in behind as well. Like, I think, do you think that really did knock us losing Nicky Cadden? And obviously we're kind of everything crossed that it's not too long term.
Uh, yeah, of course. I mean, it would definitely knocks any team losing one of the best players, and Nicky Cadden definitely this season has been that. Uh, but looking around the team, I still would normally, I say expect, not to use it in a harsh way because I don't think the team deserves to be spoken about too harshly at the moment. But looking around the team, I normally expect a lot of these other players out, not just Nicky Cadden, to be getting a bit more quality on not only deliveries, passes. Like there was a couple of times where Iredale had the chance to in the second half to fizz it into a beater, and it was quite often over hit or under hit. He
Hmm.
was hitting like kind of the first man in front of him a few times. Josh Campbell passing a lot of the time wasn't up to scratch. And like I say, I'm absolutely not digging any of them out. But that's just the reality. It's just that we just
Hmm.
didn't have enough quality on the ball.
Yeah, I think it would be wrong of us to sort of suggest that Celtic didn't come away sort of worthy winners from the game. If the Hibs still performed well and or decent and defended well, and I don't know, it did feel like we were going to get through to half time at 0-0. Jordan Smith had made a couple of good saves, and Keane Bowie had a good chance, which, God, the head loss that would have occurred if we'd scored for Josh Campbell
By the
having the
way,
audacity to steal like a couple of yards. Like it
that's what
was
they do 10 times
every,
a game.
I
I
know,
actually even seen some Celtic fans talking about it, and they were like, "Well, we do that all the time, so what's the big deal?" Come
I
on, eh?
know, it's ridiculous, mate. Absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, sometimes folk just that people, like I said, football's no to be happy. People, even when they win games of football, look for reasons to be pissed off. Apparently, Josh
Aye.
Campbell should have been sent off as well. Apparently, that was,
Oh, that was a shocker of
oh,
a tweet. That was really bad.
but Jordan Smith, unfortunately, he makes a really good save from a shot at the edge of the area, I think from Hatate, but Daizamai does. Sorry, it wasn't a shot for the edge of the box. It was the winger when it cut back
Okay.
ahead. He sort of got in there ahead of Jordan Obita, and Daizamai is sort of his only player in the box really that reacts to that, and it it kind of did knock the stuffing out of you, didn't it? At that point in the game, sort of just 5-10 minutes before half time.
It's not an ideal time to concede. He's just sharp as anything, Maeda. I don't know. He looks head and shoulders the best player in Scotland at the moment, in my opinion. He's just
No
so
diving wee
sharp,
pricks to
lightning
boot.
quick. Oh, I mean, he hardly got up off his arse the entire game, but he's very good. We've had a few of those types of players in recent years, and so there's many at it, is what I'll say. Uh, it's a bad time to concede, but to be fair, we stuck in there. Like we stayed with them. That's the main thing, and that's really all you can ask. Yes, focal point towards our goalie having a good day, but ultimately, I think pretty much every team in the country would need their goalkeeper to have a really good game to get anything at Celtic
Hmm.
Park. We stayed with them, and for as much as I've seen a lot of people and on the radio on the way back, they were saying how poor, which is fair enough, we were on the ball. Ultimately, we were one moment of quality away
Yeah,
from leveling the game because we stayed 1-0 right until pretty much right until the end. So
yeah.
it was a cliched brave effort,
Aye.
but
It is the narrative, isn't it? You know, when it's domestic football, so obviously Hibs are supposed to just go and have a go at Celtic and leave ourselves open at the back. Whereas if a team, and this isn't even just a Celtic, any Scottish team went away in Europe and just ground out a result, they'd be praised for it, as Celtic have been on this season, as Rangers have been in the past. Like, you are playing against a team that are playing a different sport for you, ultimately.
Aye.
Do you know, that's
And
that's the harsh reality of it. But
at Celtic Park with referees that referee to a different standard. Some of the yellow cards that were getting dished out, I've just seen Mikey in the chat saying the one I had there I
oh
thought
no.
it was just an absolute joke. It was a joke. Like his arms were by his side. He was clearly running, and it struck his arm, and it's definitely a foul. But to book somebody for that, I mean, come
Mhm.
on. And then in the second half, I think it was the second half, a Celtic player has his arm out for his body, clearly handballs it, and he doesn't book him.
Do you know
Come on.
the interesting fact? So was it? I don't know who shared the stats on Twitter today. I think Matty and the Lumbangers that guys definitely retweeted it. And they're just worth noting. Anyone that's watching live, Lumbangers are going. They've delayed their live stream tonight to the moment that we finish, so you'll get a nice. I don't know what would that be, a good hour or two maybe of Hibs content on a
Good
Monday
guy.
night.
Good guys.
Was it 9.5 fouls for Celtic for
I'll,
bookings?
I'll
But
get
what
up now.
that doesn't even factor in all the things that don't get given as fouls. I
Yeah.
mean, I thought Bowie struggled at times against their centre backs, but at other points he was just simply fouled, and Nick
There was
Walsh
one
just didn't.
trustee, I think it was just like hold him down.
Nah, it's absolutely ridiculous. But
So, wait now, fouls per yellow at home in the Scottish Premiership this season. So, at Celtic Park, Celtic make 11.91 fouls per yellow card, and their opposition 3.5 fouls per yellow card.
so that means really, well, it's 3.5 and 11 point. So it's almost four yellow cards for every one.
Mhm.
Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Or like and we didn't lose the game because of the referee, but just again,
Not even
just the
close, eh?
the inconsistency in approach and the inconsistency to the application of the rules. It's it blows my mind. And again, I mentioned it after we played them at Easter Road. For very quickly early on in both games, Hibs are getting told to hurry up with things. But when Celtic were ready to then see the game out at 1-0, they were taking their time, and there's no consistency in that approach. But uh, we went in at 1-0, second half can. Mixture of some really good saves for Jordan Smith and poor finishing from Celtic meant that Hibs are still in it until literally right at the end of the game. There's probably not really any standouts other than the goalkeeper, Craig, who obviously signed a new contract during the week as well, extending his deal at the club until the summer of 2028. Um, Potentially play his best game for Hibs on the back of that.
I mean, it's no far away. I know he was good at air in the last round of the cup. Uh, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't think there's many really that have been better than that. I was actually looking at his stats earlier and like,
Save percentage is really good, I noticed.
yeah, it's not too bad. And there was one game we got a clean sheet where he's made 6 out of 6 saves. Uh, but I think in terms of the actual quality, am I? Oh, I thought it was muted, sorry. Uh, in terms of the actual quality of saves, the game at the weekend there was probably his best. there was a number of saves there that were very, very good. And I think his ambition now will just be to establish himself as
Hmm.
number one at Hibs. It's uh, at the moment, obviously, he's established number one this season. That's what I'm talking about. Going forward, he'll be looking to do that. He seems like a lovely guy, uh, and a sort of typical like good guy to have around a dressing room. I think he'll be good for the sort of
Yeah.
morale in the changing room. So
Is there like we were talking about it, at two half two on Saturday, Sunday afternoon, saying that we probably still wouldn't feel comfortable with him as our sort of long term first choice goalkeeper. We mentioned it recently as well. Do performances that then followed that on Sunday afternoon change your opinion? Because I think he'd had a shaky couple of games, to be fair, probably in the three games we won, especially at Tannadice. But that was sort of back to what we had been seeing before that.
no, he looks confident. He looks like he's in a good groove. He looks happy as well, which I think is a massive part of sort of showing your best on the pitch. He looks like he's really found his
Mhm.
club at Hibs. I still don't know if I'm 100% convinced by him.
Mhm.
Uh, I know obviously when we were talking, this is before the game, before he puts in a really good performance. Uh, I was kind of looking at him going, I think he's just like he's a I'm trying to phrase this the best way to not sound too harsh because it's not my intention. He's a average goalkeeper at this level, just doing like the basics of being a goalkeeper
Okay,
well.
yep.
Like he's making saves. He's not trying to be too fancy or anything like that, and sort of coming up with howlers. I think he needs to work on coming out for the ball. But ultimately, there's no doubt if he keeps up that level of performance or anywhere near close to it, that he's going to be a great shout at being number one next season.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
And I
just
know
having a
people love him as well, so
Yeah, yeah. I'm just having a quick look here over the sort of foot mob sort of rankings in terms of the quick stats that they show for goalkeepers. So he's obviously looking clean sheets. He's not really going to be high up because he's hardly played, but he still is actually sixth in the league for that. Four clean sheets. Only let's say, oh, sorry, he's joint fifth. Only four goalkeepers have kept more clean sheets. He's second highest for save percentage. Only Casper Schmeichel outperforms him. Saves per 90, he's in the top four again. Goals prevented, he's one of only five goalkeepers that are actually positive in that ratio. And goals conceded per 90, he ranks third. Only Jack Butland and Kasper Schmeichel, who you would expect, being at Celtic and Rangers, that concede at a slower rate than when John Smithson goes for Hibs. So, maybe it's one of them where the eye test doesn't fully, like, I
that's
think it's
reflective of a good defence in front of him as well at the moment.
true.
Like
Yep,
that,
very
that,
true.
that that's also reflects that.
Very, very true. Uh, any other sort of key things that you want to highlight? Ellie Yuan obviously got his first minutes on the pitch.
Yep,
Anything
good to
else?
see him back on the park. He didn't look sharp, let's be honest, but it's absolutely not to be expected after being out for the
Yep.
length of time it has been, way longer than anybody expected, including himself, I would imagine. Uh, the only other thing is the atmosphere in the away end was absolutely
Yeah.
class. It was brilliant. It was like you say, it had that feeling of a away day, sort of day out. A wee bit of sort of Villa vibes to it as well. Uh, it was just class. It was noisy and
Mm.
thoroughly enjoyed it. Even with the 2-0 defeat, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And so it was a. I think it was what the team deserved, and I think I know there's definitely been some unfair criticism. I think of the performance and the way that you know some people have reacted to the game, but I think there was an understanding really. Do you know, like I think sort of between the fan base and the players, it was evident at the end of the game that it's not the end of the world. It is disappointing, but this group of players now in the management team and the or sorry, the coaching team the they've earned the right and they've earned the support from the team after a very poor start to the season that I think I would like to think anyway that nobody came away from that game yesterday going, oh, don't know about Kelly. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't see anything that would make me go, oh, do you know that defeat might rock us. I think we'll get back to it. You know, you mentioned it. Maybe we do need to get the performance level just up a level again a little bit. We weren't great at Tannadice. The Derby kind of looks after itself, and then the two Celtic games have sort of been backs against the wall certainly for large chunks of the game. Do you think we need to just lift it a little bit again going into the game at the weekend to then kick on?
I do think we actually do, yeah. Obviously, the run of results that we've been on is absolutely brilliant, but I think performances probably have just dipped a wee bit in the last week or so. Again, tired legs, mentally, all that stuff. I get it, and we've been getting the results, which is brilliant, but I think performances overall have been quite patchy.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think we could do with just picking up a wee bit again, the sort of level of performance. I know some people might take that as a soundbite and think that I'm being overly critical because we've won our last three league games. That's not what I mean at all. But I just think, look, regardless of the decisions being correct or not, which I think they were, the decisions that obviously everybody knows what decision I'm talking about recently, they could have easily went against us, and it could have
Hmm.
the last week or two could have easily swung from 9 points to 3 points
Yeah,
potentially. Uh, so I think maybe we could do with just picking up the level of performance going for this last four games and make
yeah.
sure that we can cement ourselves in third.
Well, so obviously the next game, one game before the international break, and then three games before the split. We'll touch on Kelly first, obviously, with that coming up now, and then we'll have a little look ahead to sort of what we've got in the four games remaining before the split, and sort of our competitors, and where we maybe see Hibs sort of progressing through the rest of the season, and sort of the teams that might prove a threat if there's anyone maybe that's within the pack that we think might emerge. But Kelly's generally a hard place to go. It's been a difficult season for them, sitting third bottom. They've lost their last three league games. Obviously didn't have a game at the weekend, so that sort of gives them a chance to the group. But prior to that, they'd won two home games in a row. So really, really patchy. That's resulted in them being the sort of bottom of the group. Really, sitting in 10th place. The sort of two below them are, I think, sort of a little bit cut adrift after that. What are you expecting at the weekend?
A solid game, to be honest. It's, aye, I've been to Killie a number of times, and it's never a particularly enjoyable game to watch. I think the pitch, like all those types of pitches, lends itself to a poor football match. But I think ultimately, if you can come away with, to be honest, I'd be happy with a draw out of that game, as sort of negative maybe as that is. But uh, I just don't think a draw would be a disaster given the other fixtures that we've obviously got coming up. Uh, aye, I
So we've
think
got
it'll
four.
be. I think it'll be solid.
I think at this stage of the season, I think we now have to target third place as our expectation, as Mikey just mentions in the chat there as well. I think we've got to target third place, and uh, you would expect that Celtic would win the Scottish Cup, which would sort of give us that guaranteed group stage football, I believe, for the last year. At least for the time being, that is the case, and that I think that has to be the target, and we should really be looking at this game as a place to get sort of back to winning ways. And like you say, I know we have actually won our last three league games, so continue that league form because, like you say, we're unbeaten in 13 games in the league. That's the sound bite. It'll be difficult, but I think we'll get the job done. Like I said a couple of minutes ago, I didn't come away from that game going, oh, do you know that might be our bubble burst, but it'd be a really big one, I think, to just to get back to winning ways before the break. And yeah, I think we will. I think we might see a couple changes in there to freshen it up a little bit. Left wing back, obviously, we would expect that will be one. It certainly didn't look good for Nicky Cadden, and then
Yeah.
artificial pitch and everything that goes with that. I'd be extremely surprised if we seen him this weekend. I don't think there's been any sort of confirmation of what the injury is at this point.
No, it's a concern though, missing Nicky Cadden, especially because I believe it was hamstring.
Right,
Uh,
okay.
I think Gray was. She said in his interview he felt it tighten up. I don't know if it was as serious as anything went, or
Mm.
so hopefully he's just felt it tightening up and then he thought call it a day there before it gets more serious. But obviously Cadden's been so influential in our season and the turnaround. the sort of drive and the delivery it gives you from that left-hand side in the box has
Yeah.
caused all sorts of problems for other teams. And while I back Abita's crossing ability, I do, but I just don't think he gets himself into his advanced
Is
areas.
regularly.
And yeah, and I mean, that's just probably because he's more a defensively minded player than Cadden.
And it is similar to what you would expect when Miller plays at right wing back over Chris Cadden. It is sort of playing that traditional fullback as the wing back as opposed to maybe a more traditional winger as the
Yeah,
wing back. It is
yeah,
just a
yeah,
different dynamic, and you would need to look at other players stepping up to be that sort of creative outlet, and maybe have, in particular, maybe Chris Cadden, who took a knock as well and sort of soldiered on for the last few minutes yesterday as we didn't have any subs left. But the middle of the park as well, I don't think any of them had great games at Celtic Park. I'd like to see Josh Campbell being much more effective, like he was against Celtic at Easter Road. Obviously, with his two goals, Chant is maybe starting to really
he
get
was
his foot on the board.
uncharacteristically poor. Eh?
Just
He was getting
slop
caught
at
underneath a
points.
lot.
So look, I think like I say, I think we will. I think we'll be all right this weekend. I do expect that we'll get back to winning ways and really try and hone in on third place. In terms of the teams that are obviously our direct rivals for that, Aberdeen have got a potentially tricky tie at St Johnstone this weekend. Obviously bottom of the league, but St Johnstone are actually going okay. Um, and it's a Dundee derby for Dundee United at Tannadice. You'd probably expect both teams to win. If it was on paper, but so it, it's not a must win, obviously. For third, but it would be a massive 3 points to go and get Craig in sort of rubber stamper sort of position. Like, would you say like if we could go at Kelly and win, you would really that really boost you in terms of
I,
thinking we are going for a third here?
yeah, I think it would. Well, it would. 100% would because it's not a game. It's bizarre, right? Because I think our run has almost raised, well, not almost, it has raised the expectations amongst the support. Sorry, I see a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter and that calling and for the next four games to be like 10-9 or 10 points out of the 12. Uh, but in my mind, I look at that game and go, that's a really difficult game. If we come away with a point from that would be pretty decent. But if you can come away with all three, I think
Mhm.
it lays down a marker like we're no here to mess about. We're here for third. And then at that stage, I think we should, if we beat Kelly, we should be looking at minimum 9 points out of 12 from the four games because we should
Absolutely.
absolutely be beating Dundee and St Johnstone Easter Road. Like
Yeah.
if we have any realistic ambition of finishing third in the league, those two games are games you absolutely have to win. And I think
Hmm.
avoiding defeat at Kelly is important as well,
Yeah.
because it's so tight that it literally could and probably will come down to the odd point here or there. So
Hmm.
I think avoid my hope would be just avoid defeat to start with. But if you can go and win the game, because ultimately it will be a close game. Uh, wow, what a massive statement of
Yeah.
intent that would be.
So obviously following that, we've got 4 games before the split. We've got Rangers away, and then the bottom three in the league currently. Um, so for me, that if you're looking at all the games on paper, I think Hibs they certainly are in pole position currently. Obviously, we are the team in third as well. But so something if someone had a run that was Celtic, Rangers, Hibs, Hearts, you might struggle to pick up more points. Aberdeen's fixtures that are the remaining before the split: St Johnstone away, Motherwell at home, Ross County away, Rangers at home. Dundee United, like I said earlier, I've got the Dundee Derby, a tricky trip to Ross County, followed by a trip to Tynecastle and then St Johnstone at home. So I personally think with the cushion that we've got over the pair of them, obviously a point on Aberdeen and 2 points on Dundee United. From what I've seen from the two teams, I think 6 points probably has us in third at the split. From our 4 games, seven probably definitely does. Nine or above, and you've probably actually got a little bit of a cushion. Do you see anyone else in the pack that's just below that? Because then there's sort of 4 points down to Motherwell, five to Hearts, Ross County, and St Mirren tucked in behind them. Do you see anyone else in that sort of little gloop in the middle of the table that could maybe sort of push forward to compete for the sort of third, fourth places that are sort of guaranteed European spots?
Not before the split, but
Aye, yeah,
ultimately the season didn't end at the split, obviously. So
of
still, what
course.
is it?
5 games after that. Yeah.
9 games left. So
It's mental, eh? It feels like we're getting
another
to the end
two
of the
Old
season,
Firm
but we've
games.
almost got a third. Like,
Yeah. So I mean, Aye, any Motherwell or Hearts could
Sorry, no, fuck.
easily.
Quarter.
Aye,
Almost a quarter, sorry.
that's all right. I will just gloss over it, mate. Uh, Motherwell or Hearts could easily find themselves in and about the sort of third, fourth place battle towards the end
Mhm.
of the season, I would say. But I think it takes obviously it's going to take for them either of those clubs to have a really good run. I think Hearts are more likely out of the two of Motherwell and Hearts to have a good run, just purely based on them being the bigger club and probably the side with a better squad overall.
Mhm.
So at the moment, until the split, I don't see them getting up into the third place battle
Mhm.
until after the split. And I think even after that, it'll be tough because you've got two Old Firm games. So you have to
Yep.
pick up a lot of points and rely on the other three teams, i.e. Dundee United, Hibs and Aberdeen, all to sort of have a bad time from now into the end of the
Mhm.
season. But I think when you're reading out the fixtures there, it's actually probably got me a bit more hopeful than I was even previous to that because I think if you look at it from a neutral point of view, we've probably got
No,
the
you got
most
three. The
kind
bottom
of
three.
guaranteed
Aye.
3 point games in terms of Dundee and St Johnstone at home. If you as a neutral, you're looking at that. I'm not saying that they are guaranteed three
Yeah,
points, but
like Dundee United have them both at home as well, but there's two difficult away games in there, and one of
yeah,
them's a derby, and that
aye,
automatically becomes harder, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, yeah.
because a derby's up in there. So I would look at that and say, well, maybe we are in the pole position here.
Hmm.
And I think after the split, it'll be key who we get home and away. Because I know one of them will probably work out. It generally works out that you sometimes play a team
Someone
three
three
times at
times.
home or three times away, whatever it is.
Yep.
Uh, so I think it should come down to the wire. Ideally, it doesn't, and we just win every game from now until the end of the season
Aye.
and can finish second.
I am. So obviously we're not guaranteed to actually finish in the top six yet, sort of mathematically. But I think now this is where I might be wrong. I think regardless of results, I think a win at the weekend would confirm it. So we've currently got a 7 point gap on Hearts, but the reason that I say if we win is there's so many teams that are still due to play each other. So like Hearts play Ross County, they play Dundee United, Aberdeen play Ross County. Do you know what I mean? Like they're all playing each other, so I do think it might even be if we draw at the weekend that it's sort of confirmed because just not enough teams would be able to overtake us. But it would be a massive sort of statement, Craig, really, and to if we did go to win at the weekend and go right, top six is done. Right now, let's really kick on here. To if we were to rewind back to even when we last lost a game, obviously we'd taken 4 points out of six prior to the last Celtic game. But if you'd said, you might be secure in the top six with 3 games to go before the split, you remember would have been getting checked into somewhere.
Well, I mean, we were absolutely having conversations in fact, I feel like I vividly remember saying to you or asking you, like, are we actually officially in a
Aye.
relegation battle? And you said, undoubtedly said yes. So no, it's brilliant. I would have taken at that stage of the season if you'd said to me you'll finish 10th, I probably would have taken that. That's how sort of grim it was feeling at that stage, which maybe tells you how fickle a football fan is and how short-sighted we all are when it's going poorly. But just sort of touch on what Mickey said in the chat, it does actually feel like there's been a sort of mentality shift in the players at the moment. It feels like we are, and obviously managers and players give it the cliche about the whole next game pish all the time. But it honestly does feel at the moment like we are out to win every game. Like we genuinely have ambition to win every single game.
Yep.
And I think that's probably something that's been lacking in Hibs teams in the past. And I think that's starting to feed into the fans as well now that there is that expectation that we're going to Kelly and why not? Why can't we win? And why can't we go to Ibrox and get 3 points?
Yep.
It's obviously not real. It's not entirely realistic that we do win every game, but that should absolutely be the ambition. Otherwise, there's no point in turning up.
100%, buddy. 100%. Who'd you, if you were to sort of pin your hat on, just maybe pin your hat, fuck it, put your hat on, pin your tail on, whatever. Couple players maybe just between now and the end of the season that you find, if they hit the heights, then we're going to have a really successful end to the season here.
Bowie.
Okay.
A striker, a striker in form and scoring goals transforms anybody's season, regardless of where you are in the
Hmm.
league. Mind when we had Griffiths and we were absolutely shocking all over the park, but we had one guy that was scoring 20 goals in the season or whatever, and that actually made us half decent.
Good
Uh,
point.
so Bowie definitely, uh, and
I'll let you think on your second one. I think I would agree with Bobby, but I'll come in and take Nectar Chanters. I think sort of around that Christmas and New Year period, he was exceptional. And
fair.
maybe did struggle a little bit at Tannadice in the first half, struggled at the weekend a little bit. Definitely struggled in the first half at the Derby. If he can really sort of, and this is the thing, we're now judging players by a different standard than to what we were 3 or 4 months ago as well. But if he can really hit the heights and rediscover his sort of mojo where he's, just striding past opposition midfielders, that would be massive for us, I think, in the middle of the pitch. And if he could, he's obviously found some goals in the last few months as well. I think that would be a massive contribution, especially if Nicky Cadden was going to miss any sort of substantial time.
Mate, see when you use the word gliding there, do you know what he reminds me of when he's on a good game, Chantis? Absolute baller is Dembele of Tottenham. Do you mind him in the
Oh
Premier
yeah,
League? How
yeah,
good he
absolute
was. Oh
machine.
mate. See when he used to get that ball and glide with it, stick it out, and that's Chantis has got a wee bit about that.
Aye. Do you think we'll maybe see the wonder goal that he was so close to on his last
Oh,
time we were at Kelly?
were you at that one?
No, I was watching. That was the day. That
Oh,
was the day
oh
after I was
yeah.
never drinking
Uh,
again. And
yeah. Uh, mate, I just about shat myself when Chantis hit that ball. I was convinced it was in the entire time. As soon as it left his foot, it was in. I mean, I still think obviously nothing's going to beat Iredale, but that would have been the realistic goal of the
oh, I
season.
think that would. I know, like obviously, you're right. Actually, context would have been everything, but I think that would have been an absolute screamer. I mean, same game. Miko nearly scored for fucking halfway.
Half a line, huh?
Oh, and then to sum up our season, you've got all the good moments, and we fucking draw 1-1 to a last minute penalty. Anyway, have you got a second player there that you think? If
I've got several players. Like,
Okay.
if every team in our every player in our team plays well, we'll do well. But I'm going to say Smith because a goalie on form. I'm going to go two opposite ends of the park. I'm going to say
Yep.
striker and Bowie and goalie and Smith. I think if
Hmm.
you have a goalie who's playing well, it can be massive. We've seen what it's done for Hearts with Craig Gordon over the years. So if Smith can be informed, because he's undoubtedly going to be called upon plenty of times in big games, because we're going to have plenty of big games coming up in the top six.
Yep.
So Aberdeen, Dundee United, probably the main ones, because they'll be the teams around you, you would imagine,
Yep.
as it looks at the moment. So if we can get a goalkeeper in really good form, making sort of, I always like to say unexpected saves, like not run of the mill saves, that you actually take back and go, "Oh, wow, what a save
Yeah.
that was!" Like that, he shouldn't have got to that saves. Then I think we'll do well.
Yeah. If I was to take a second player, I would say who do I want my second player to be? I went for a midfield. Do you know? I think if our lesser sung, our unsung Cadden brother. If Chris Cadden performs
Yes.
well on that right hand side, especially again if Nicky Cadden's going to be out, if he can sort of carry that threat that Nicky Cadden has in terms of the attacking outlook, because I do think Chris Cadden has been better than what he's been given credit for this year, obviously because his brother's been so good on the other side, but naturally that probably has given him a little bit more of an easy, like in terms of, I think a lot of teams focus a lot of their like attention down our left hand side. So
Mm.
that might switch to Chris Cadden on the right hand side. But I think if he can perform well, I think that would be a massive. If he can just so that we don't lose that sort of constant threat of sort of the balls into the box that we have been such a threat from this year.
He's got good delivery as well, Chris
Yeah,
Cadden, when he gets up there. Like a couple of seasons ago, he used to flash balls across the front of the keeper all the time, and just nobody was ever on them.
yeah.
Uh, so good choice. I love Chris Cadden. What a guy.
Aye. Right, well, I think that'll just about do us. Craig, give me a score prediction for the Kilmarnock game.
After all my ramblings about taking a draw, as Jane Sandy's saying in the chat, we have to be optimistic as Hibs fans, and it's almost expected. So I'm going to say 2-1 Hibs.
Oh, we've been enjoying that scoreline recently as well.
Hmm.
I think that we are going to let me get this right. I'm going to keep a clean sheet. We're due a clean sheet.
Yes,
We have won the last three league games 2-1. I think we are going to edge this, not edge it. I think we're going to win it 2-0. I don't think you edge a game 2-0, do you? I think we
that's
will come out
comfortable.
on top, fairly comfortable, goal in each half. Kieran Bowie, Chris Cadden, happy days, mate. That's what we're going for.
We
2-0
will
at the
take it.
Hibs. Right, well, we will be back next Monday, hopefully as a free. And then we'll be taking a break after that for the international break. And as there will be no Hibs the following weekend, so we'll be back on a fairly quick one next weekend, we'd expect. Hopefully celebrating Hibs going 14 games in the league unbeaten, having won four in a row. Cheers!
Cheers, thank you.
Done. I forgot to mention long bangers, but I done it earlier.
That's fine. I'll put